Intersections are where the majority of accidents happen. They're also the places where there's the most traffic conflict. Vehicles go straight through, turn right or left, and they do this from 4 different directions. At a controlled intersection such as this one, the best defensive driving tactic is to get your unit through the intersection on the green, or if you know the light is going to change to amber and red, get ready to come to a slow, gradual halt on the red. Panic stops at an intersection usually lead to your unit ending up partway into the intersection. If you stop too rapidly, the motorist behind you could run into your back end. Panic stops are very hard on equipment and make a very poor impression on other motorists. Let's study the best defensive maneuver you can take on the approach to and during the right and left turns with various types of LCVs. The turns will be made off of a 4-lane street onto a fairly wide 2-lane street. Each type of LCV has different off-track depending on the configuration, the length of the trailers, and the number of trailers. Triples have the least off-track, and turnpike doubles have the greatest. First, the right turn. As you approach the intersection, keep to the right lane and activate your left turn signal to warn following traffic that you're going to move the unit to the left. Approximately a rig length from the intersection, move the power unit into the inside left lane. This maneuver will block following traffic as long as possible. As soon as the tractor has passed into the left lane, activate the right turn signal. The rear trailer will still be in the right-hand lane, and the following traffic should realize that you are making a right turn. Travel as far into the intersection as required to allow for off-track before cutting the tractor back right. If you have to move into the opposing traffic's lane for additional room, do so on the street that you're turning onto, as you'll have a clear view of any opposing traffic. As the power unit swings right, take one last look down the right side of your unit to ensure no one is squeezed in between your unit and the curb. If all is clear, complete your turn as quickly as possible, clear the intersection, and be on your way. The left turn doesn't pose the problems that the right turn does. Left turns are much simpler due to the fact that the driver has a clear view of the whole side of the rig as the turn is made. Approach the intersection in the inside left lane with the left signal lights activated. When turning, bring the tractor unit over to the extreme right side of the street that's being turned onto to avoid crowding approaching traffic. This provides a clear view of all traffic. It's of utmost importance that you, as the driver of an LCV, warn other motorists of your intention upon the approach to an intersection. Be sure to safeguard yourself and others by taking the most defensive action you can to prevent an accident. When you leave the city, you're faced with very different concerns than in an urban setting. For example, intersection turns or conflicting traffic patterns are of less concern. On the other hand, traffic moves much faster. You have to be alert for other drivers who may be inexperienced, and you must always be aware of the changing road, weather, and traffic conditions. Problems can occur when you don't have a clear vision of the road ahead, or don't have time to slow down or take evasive measures. On a test track, we'll show some examples of the result. Single vehicle rollover accidents.
This rig is being equipped with an outrigger. It's a device that will prevent the test vehicle from rolling completely over when it goes through the turns at high speed. Inside the van trailer, these weights are the equivalent of a 50,000-pound load. They're bolted down to the floor to avoid damage to the trailer when it's rolled up on the outriggers. Whether it's loaded with weights or loaded with freight, every trailer is top-heavy to a certain degree. So every trailer has some limit beyond which it will always roll over. We call this the basic stability level. Basic stability is determined by a number of factors: the height of the payload, the stiffness of the suspension, the springs and the tires. Generally speaking, there is simply no way for a truck driver to know exactly how all these factors are going to add up. What is important to remember is that depending on the load that it carries, a typical loaded tractor semi-trailer has a basic stability level only 1/3 that of a passenger car. In other words, just 1/3 of the amount of cornering that a car can accept could roll over a heavy loaded truck. So to prevent rollovers, it's very important to understand that tractor trailers have a much lower stability level than automobiles, and that this level will vary from vehicle to vehicle and load to load. Drivers must be able to compensate for this at all times, under all driving conditions.
We found the first sequence, your trailer wheels come up, and then it takes a little bit before it's got to take the slap out of the fifth wheel and so forth, spring lash and everything. The last thing to come up is your tractor wheels.
In tractor semi-trailers, the amount of rolling needed to lift off the axles varies along the vehicle. The inside trailer tires are typically the first to lift off. In most cases, the driver will not feel this happen and may not see it in his mirrors. After the trailer tires lift off, the next wheels to lift will be one or both of the tractor's drive axles. Once this happens, rollover is inevitable.
Avoid getting too close to the shoulders when they're in bad condition, as in a construction area. In the event of a vehicle going over the shoulder, it's better to keep the truck straight and to ride off the road than to try and pull it back up onto the road and risk a rollover. It's easier to tow a truck out of a ditch than to pick one up that's been rolled over.
Rapid steering with doubles or triples tends to set up a snaking motion in the rear trailer that's like cracking a whip. Even a moderate amount of left-right steering, if done rapidly enough, can roll over the rear trailer in an instant. Don Foster describes the double situation this way.
I grew up with doubles, and I kind of enjoy getting them through places where they say I can't get them through. If you're used to your double and everything, they'll do a good job. But you just got to remember to crack the work process back there. Don't go too far.
Unlike tractor semi-trailers, with doubles, the driver cannot feel the motions of the rear trailer. The pintle hook connection to the dolly tends to insulate the cab from any sensation of what's happening back there.
To roll a double takes very little steering action. That's one of the things I found out when I started testing. I drove double before and never realized just how much it was doing. Of course, on the highway, you're watching something else. You're not watching the pup. You want to get the truck through.